everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another super exciting extended 2-week forecast. And this one is for June 28th all the way through to July 12th of 2022, the entire waxing phase of the upcoming lunar cycle, beginning with the new moon in the sign of Cancer. And this new moon is a rebellious energy, which sounds a little strange when I'm talking about the new moon in Cancer, because Cancer is a very supportive, nurturing, receptive, emotionally driven sign that tends to be a little bit more traditional, a little bit more just chill in terms of its energy. However, this new moon is going to be in a conjunction with Lilith and in a super tight square with Jupiter in the enthusiastic, willful, strongly, fiercely independent sign of Aries. And so what does this all mean? Well, we got to start with the first things first. The energy of the new moon always represents new beginnings. It represents a starting point. It represents breaking into something new. And this is the first new moon after the summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere, or the winter solstice if you are down in the south. And so the solstice marks the beginning of a new season, the beginning of summer, or the beginning of winter, if that's where you're at. And so we're talking about a cardinal energy, an initiatory energy that's already super amped up and giving us momentum to start something fresh, to break free from the mundane, to launch headfirst into something new. And at the same time, we have this energy of, Cancer, which has to do with being guided and led by our emotions, by our intuition, by our sensitivities, by our feelings, by our internal compass, our internal guidance. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you watch my video about your moon sign and intuition to learn more about how to tap into your unique intuitive abilities, which is a perfect theme for this new moon, for your intention setting for this new moon. That video is floating around up here somewhere, where I go through each moon sign and kind of the energy of each of the moon signs and how that is represented and reflected in the way that your intuition comes through. But regardless of that, everybody's intuition is going to be coming through, I think, a lot more strongly right now. However, it's going to lead us in maybe we're going to be feeling very enthusiastic right now. And we're especially going to be feeling enthusiastic about rebelling against our current circumstances, rebelling against what is emotionally holding us back, what is emotionally feeling repressive, what is emotionally feeling heavy, what is emotionally causing us to feel caged up, like we don't have the freedom that we need to do what we want to do in the way that we want to do it. And so that's going to be a big part of this energy. With Jupiter in the mix, we might overdo it. We might overcommit. We might launch head first and go all in times 20. And although that can be very fruitful, although this is a great energy for stimulating that momentum, for stimulating that movement, for causing you to activate your willpower in pursuit of something that feels really right and feels really good to you, there is, of course, the potential for burnout, especially because this is, again, Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter in Aries is over enthusiastic and overactive. It's like doing, going, pushing, launching into this, launching into that, accelerating at this rapid speed. And it's kind of like, there's no stopping this energy. And so knowing that and understanding that, one of the things that we're going to have to remember around the time of this new moon is that even though it feels like things need to happen now, even though emotionally you might be all in and there's momentum going, that doesn't mean you need to do it all right now. That's a recipe for not just physical burnout, but especially with the new moon energy, especially during this lunar cycle, that is a recipe for emotional burnout. It's going to be very emotionally draining, and it'll bring you to this point where you don't have that feeling, that sensation, that intuition, that drive that comes from that emotional energy behind what you're doing anymore. This is a really this is an energy that can cause us to fizzle out. It's a really great energy for getting things going, but if you are just getting it going because you feel so passionate and so powerful in the moment, but you don't necessarily have that follow through or that vision of how things are going to turn out or what you need to actually do to get to that end goal, then this is an energy where, yeah, there's a lot of emotion. Yeah, you'll start something, but will you finish it? And so that's something to also make note of. The other thing that I want to mention, of course, is that this new moon is in a conjunction with Lilith. There are a lot of astrologers that will say that this is some sort of demonic energy, that there's some sort of, evil, I don't know. They make it like out to be this like seductress, like Medusa kind of, I don't know, weird energy where it's just not. It's mostly just a very rebellious energy, and that's what I've seen through looking at a ton of charts. It does not necessarily mean that everyone under this new moon is going to, become some sort of succubus. It does not necessarily mean that there's like this crazy wild sexual energy floating around. But what it does mean is that people are going to be feeling much more rebellious. They're going to want to do things in their own way. They're going to want to rebel against the status quo, against the norm, against the standard way of doing things, against convention, right? And so that's the energy where it becomes a little bit more not necessarily rebellious in terms of like external things going on, especially because it's a new moon, it's something that's building. But whatever's born out of this new moon will be born out of an internal sense of rebelliousness, where internally and emotionally you feel so strongly that you're sickened by your current circumstances, that you can't stand the status quo. And because of that, because this conventional way of doing things, what people are telling you, what the mainstream is telling you, is not what you feel in your heart, you have to rebel, you have to change something, you have to do something differently. And again, it's a feeling, right? And it's not necessarily that we're overtly doing something or something's overtly happening, although it can be the case. When it's a new moon, it's a more internalized experience of this energy. And so this is a great time to contemplate what is not working in your life, where you're just going along with the status quo, because that's what's expected of you, not just from your immediate environment and the people that surround you, but by the society at large, right? When you're doing something just because it's the way that things are done, just because it's what the media tells you should be doing, just because it's what society or your family or tradition dictates that you should be doing, then, that's something to be reflecting on. That's something to feel out. Like, does this actually feel right to me? And if it does, that's completely okay. It's okay if something feels right to you and it's conventional, traditional, it's what's expected of you. That's great. That's wonderful. That means that you have that support externally and you're aligned with the thing that feels good. But when it doesn't feel good, when it doesn't feel right, that's when you know that there's something that you need to break free from, which the new moons are a time of endings and new beginnings. And that's where you need to seed intentions to do things differently, to do things in a way that feels more aligned into the future. And so that's what's going on for this new moon energy. This Jupiter energy brings that momentum. It also makes you very optimistic about whatever it is that you are setting out to accomplish, especially feeling optimistic about carrying it forward and actually getting it going. That's that Jupiter energy in the sign of Aries. But then the other thing that's kind of going on in this 2-week period, it's kind of a quiet couple of weeks. It's not like there's a lot of crazy chaotic astrology going on. That's been going on for a while up until this point. We'll get a little bit more of that later this month and into August, which we'll talk about very soon. I'm going to be doing a whole forecast video about the Uranus conjunction to the North Node and what that's going to bring and all the activations around that are coming up as well. But in the meantime, it's not that wild. However, on July 1st, so just a couple days after this new moon, we're going to have a Mars square to Pluto coming exact. This is a lot of intensity. This is a lot of passion. This is a lot of sexual energy, and this is the sexual energy that will get blamed on Lilith when really this is about a Pluto-Mars square. This is super active at the time of the new moon. This is super active over the next like week or so. This is super active in a way that's going to cause us to feel very passionate, very driven, very intense about something. I would say especially because Mars is strong in Aries, which is its home sign. This is a time where people are going to be laser focused on exerting their will, on getting their way, and on doing what needs to be done to make things happen for themselves. This is going to potentially represent some sort of conflict or difficulty when it comes to power and power exchange. There could be power struggles that could be coming up for you in your life, and we'll talk about that when we get into the forecast for all 12 signs. Typically, Pluto and Mars tend to work really well together. Scorpio is ruled by Mars in traditional astrology and Pluto in modern astrology. And so these two energies combined represent not just the physical strength and the physical exertion of will, that active engagement of will, that's that Mars energy, but that psychic energy, that psychic willpower, that psychic and psychological strength, that psychological power, that is that Pluto energy. When those two forces are combined, it can be just completely unstoppable, and you might be unstoppable or feeling unstoppable at this time. However, be careful, because you could really push too hard. You could burn bridges that you shouldn't be burning, and there is an increased likelihood of arguments, disputes, power struggles, really intense situations coming up. And so you're going to want to just be aware, right? There's a lot of intensity around this new moon, especially for it being a new moon in Cancer. And so these next couple of weeks, especially this next week, is going to be a little intense. And so use the energy wisely, use the momentum in an appropriate fashion, get some things going, but don't push too hard. Don't hurt people that you don't want to hurt. And, don't get your way by sort of manipulative means, because that's that Mars square to Pluto energy. Make sure what you're doing intuitively feels right. Make sure what you're doing is in alignment with your integrity. Make sure what you're doing is not hurting other people needlessly. And, then proceed with caution, because there is momentum, and I do think it needs to be used. You're not just going to be sitting there like stewing. That's not good either. All right. And so that's my forecast for all 12 signs. And I just want to mention before we get into, or that's my forecast for the 2 weeks ahead. Before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, I just want to mention that I have a free 7-day trial membership available right now for my Cosmic community. This offer ends for good on June 30th. And if you join now, if you activate your free trial membership today, you'll be able to join in on our new moon gathering for the new moon in Cancer. And in these gatherings, every single month, not only do we cover the new moon in Cancer, not only do we set our intentions together, but we go over the astrology for the entire lunar month ahead. That means new moon to new moon. We also cover the electional astrology, which means the art of selecting the best timing to initiate whatever you want to be successful in the month ahead. I give you a full electional astrology calendar that highlights the best and the worst days. It's a downloadable PDF that you get to keep even after your free trial ends. And we go over the best electional chart for the month ahead, so you can harness the best energy to succeed in whatever it is that's most important to you for this month. Again, you can activate that membership down in the description below. This is the last chance to get the free trial. We are getting rid of that offer at the end of this month on June 30th. So take advantage now while you still can. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning of course with Aries and Aries rising. All right, and so for Aries and for Aries rising, so at this new moon, or at the time of this new moon, which again happens on July 28th, make sure you listen to the first part of this video if you haven't already, to get additional information on what's going on for you this week. But this new moon is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. And so during this time, around the time of the new moon, you might be feeling internally rebellious against the status quo in your family, in your ancestry. You might be wanting to rebel against family tradition. You might want to rebel against maybe even your parents, especially for those of you who are viewers who are younger, who are teenagers or young adults. You might be feeling a little bit more rebellious against your parents, especially if you're still living with them. That's going to be an issue as well. But I would say that in general, this is a internalized rebellious energy that's causing you to want to go against the norm, go against the status quo, push up against some sort of tradition, some sort of hierarchy, some sort of established norm when it comes to your roots, when it comes to your family. This could also be you feeling a little internally or emotionally rebellious against your living circumstances, your place of living, your home environment, your family that you've established in adulthood, things of that nature. This is also where you're going to be feeling very fired up to start something new. And that something new could disrupt the status quo when it comes to your home, your family, your property, your relationship with your family, your relationship with your parents. This is where you're going to have the green light to jump in and do it, but just know that you're going to be leaving some emotional unsettled energy in your wake. And so that is something to just kind of be cautious of. That is something to acknowledge and be aware of. This is also a time where, especially if you're an Aries sun, moon, or rising, anywhere at the end degrees of Aries, so like 25 to 30 degrees, you're going to be feeling this the most, where you could come up against some really intense arguments, disputes, and power struggles, especially with people who are in positions of power and authority in your life. It could be a boss or a superior. It could be somebody that you look up to. It could be an authority figure in terms of the government. It could be something along those lines, but this is where you're going to be feeling very fired up and where you're going to want to push back. That being said, make sure you don't push back too hard or burn any bridges that you don't necessarily want to be burning. This is definitely conflict energy for Aries rising people. It could spill over into your relationships. It could spill over into your family life. And so, like I mentioned before, something needs to be done here. You do need to initiate. You do need to engage in this energy that you feel super, super passionate about, but maybe use it for a passion project for your career, for your work, for something along those lines, as opposed to, using it to create disputes if those disputes are needless. If it's absolutely necessary, then just know that it is going to cause some issues and it's going to be a lot more intense than what you think it will be. All right, so for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this new moon is happening in your third house, which is the house of education. It's the house of short distance travel, vehicles, siblings, neighbors, your extended family members. This is actually a better energy for Taurus than it is for most of the signs. You have this new moon in a sextile with your ascendant sun or moon. And if you're a Taurus rising, especially a Taurus rising anywhere from 0 to 10 degrees, you're going to be feeling this in a very positive way in your relationships. This is where a rebellious energy can show up for you within your community, within your communications, within your connections with other people. This is a really great time for you to think about initiating some sort of project or some sort of group or organization or community-based type of organization or club that's a little bit outside of the norm, that pushes back against the status quo in some way. This is where you're going to meet people who feel in a similar way to you about the way things are in your community and maybe wanting to shake things up, maybe wanting to rebel against the status quo when it comes to your immediate environment, when it comes to your town, when it comes to your locality. This is also a really great time for you to have very unusual, very deep, very open conversations with people who you really care about, especially in that one-on-one area. So in that one-on-one level with with close friends, with significant others, with people who not necessarily the people you surround yourself with by choice in terms of friends, but close personal relationships with people, so people you can trust, people you can rely on, that type of thing. This is also an energy where there's something going on behind the scenes. There's an internal motivation that's subconscious that's causing you to want to take action or do something new. This could also be a really great time for you to launch into learning something new that is rebellious or different than what you were brought up to believe, or the traditions that you were brought up under, or the things that you were taught, especially in your early education. This would be a really great time to branch out of that and to align yourself with some teaching, some learning, some education that's a little bit outside of the box, that feels a little bit rebellious in a very positive way, to seek some deep truth. through your education. This is also a time where, you know, we're having that Pluto-Mars square, but this is really where something could come out of the woodwork. Something could be hidden that comes out into the open that causes you to question whether or not you're acting in alignment with your integrity, or that pushes you to act outside of your integrity. Luckily, this is an energy that's going to strengthen you in a lot of ways. It's going to empower you to stand in what you believe, to stand in your values. And so I like this a lot for Taurus. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this energy is causing you to question your relationship with money, with finances, with material possessions. Internally, you're feeling unsettled, like you want to rebel against the status quo. You want to rebel against conventional means of creating resources, of dealing with your resources, of saving your resources, of using your resources. This could be you wanting to do something unconventional with your spending or with your saving. This could also be you feeling like you want to jump all in on some sort of group related project that involves finances in some way. Just know that yeah, you might get a little too gung-ho about it, or if your friends are the ones that are really gung-ho about it and you're just feeling that emotion and riding that wave, that could cause you to overextend yourself financially. So just make sure that what you want is very clearly what you want, and you're not doing it just because you're getting swept away in the emotion and the excitement of, you know, what the group is saying and what other people are thinking, because that is a potential right now for a lot of Geminis. The other thing that's going on here is that there is a strong potential for arguments, power struggles, disputes, and disagreements within your social circle. And so be very careful with the way that you speak to people, with the way that you engage with your friends, and just know that that's something that could come to you externally, even if you don't invite it in yourself. And so there is a potential for some sort of power struggles. There is a potential for some sort of dispute, and that dispute could also be involving resources. This is not a good time to call in a debt from a friend, like, hey, can you pay me that $100 that I lent you, or something like that. It's just going to end in unnecessary turmoil. Maybe wait a week or two until the energy is more clear, and then bringing it up a little bit more gently, even if you're feeling fired up about it in the moment. On the flip side, it could be the opposite end, where all of a sudden a friend who lent you some money or something like that could be calling you into question, and that could heat you up in some way. It doesn't have to be financial, though. This could literally just be a power struggle showing up between you and your social circle. And just know that there's a potential for you to overdo it, to say things you don't mean, and to burn bridges that you don't necessarily want to burn. And so just proceed with caution in that area. Something needs to be addressed here, but it doesn't mean that you need to just like sever all ties and create a giant mess. For Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, the new moon is happening in your sign. And so you yourself, Cancer, are going to be feeling very rebellious, very different than how you normally feel. You're going to be very adventurous, especially when it comes to the way that you put yourself out into the world, especially when it comes to your career, your public reputation, the things that you're doing, that involve, or that the things that you're doing that will be carried forward in the legacy that you leave behind after your working years. This is where you're internally feeling a lot more rebellious, just overall. You want to rebel against who you are, the sort of name that you've built for yourself, or the identity that you've built for yourself. You want to rebel against the status quo when it comes to other people's expectations of you. If you've sort of built your identity upon the conditioning you've received from the outside in some way, that could come up for you right now, where you all of a sudden realize, this is not how I feel, this doesn't feel right to me, and I want to be something different, I want to do something different, even though other people don't expect that of me, or they expect something like a little bit less wild. So that's part of what's going on here for Cancer. The other thing is, there is potential, even though you're feeling very excited, very driven, and a lot of really great things can come through initiating projects at work, you might overdo it, you might feel burnt out, and there's definitely potential for interpersonal issues, especially in the workplace. So tread lightly and make sure that that battle is worth having, because you don't want to burn bridges and sever ties that you don't necessarily need to. You don't want to like quit your job on a whim whim, because in that moment you're feeling so rageful because you want to do a certain thing in a certain way because you're trying to rebel and do something more independently in that moment. And then, you know, kind of regret that later because maybe you could have worked with that energy a little bit better, or maybe that boss could have given you a recommendation if you would have been more tactful in your approach. So, you know, those are all things to think about. Also, there could be interpersonal issues in romantic partnerships, one-on-one relationships of all kinds. And so again, just make sure that you're thinking things through. You don't get caught up in the heat of the moment, because in that moment of like passion and in that moment of potential like anger, you could do or say something that you'll regret. And so you want to make sure that you are not doing that. All right. And then for Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo, this new moon is happening in your 12th house, which is the house of secrets. It's the house of solitude. It's the house of rest. It's the house of spirituality and creativity. It's the house of dreams. And so this new moon could be bringing really vivid, really powerful dreams that are leading you or showing you where you're headed into the future. This could also be you feeling subconsciously very rebellious against the status quo in your life. This could be you having wanting to seek out a form of spirituality that is alternative to the conventional, that is alternative to, you know, what's accepted, that's a little bit more intense, a little bit more deep, a little bit more introspective in nature. It could be that you really want to do some more powerful inner work, and, you know, you're done with kind of the light, fluffy, new agey stuff. This could also be, and that's only if that's what you're into, obviously. That's one specific subset of people. But it's like an energy of wanting to go deeper. I really love this for, you know, learning something really powerful, for gaining some sort of new knowledge or wisdom because of the square to Jupiter in your 9th house. However, there's something going on in the area of work, health, and daily routines where you could be in the moment engaged in an intense situation that comes on very suddenly, that causes you to have to either go against your values, your morals, your integrity, or to fight for your morals, your values, your integrity, to fight for what you know is right in the workplace or kind of in your day-to-day life. It could also just be that there's a lot of intensity on a day-to-day basis where emotionally, psychologically, physically, there's just a lot going on and it's weighing on you. It feels really intense. If that's the case, try as hard as you can to take it slow, because this new moon energy, this Cancer season, is all about replenishing your energy reserves. Because you are about to come into your cosmic reset of the sun on your ascendant, the sun with your moon, or your solar return. And so this is a time of reflection, contemplation, endings, taking it easy, while the first week of this month, or this lunar month, you're going to be really feeling like you need to push. That's all in your head. It's a psychological thing for most of you. And so try to take it easy as much as you can. For Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this new moon is treating you a lot more gently than some of the other people in this zodiac here. But I like this new moon for you. So this new moon is in the sign of Cancer. It's in your 11th house. This could be you just really wanting to do something outside of the box, outside of the norm, rebellious, different from, you know, what's accepted in the mainstream or what's accepted in your social circle with your friends. So maybe bringing up taboo topics, maybe doing something in a completely new and exciting way. This could also be an energy of you wanting to branch out and start something new involving a group of people that helps you to kind of dive deeper into topics that are not necessarily accepted out in the open in the normal culture. This could be like an energy of maybe wanting to branch out and meet some new friends who have a different mindset about things. So this could be really powerful. It could also be you kind of on an internal level feeling emotionally rebellious against your current paradigm in your social circle, and then knowing that you need to branch out. This could be you taking things to another level or going deeper in a personal, close one-on-one relationship, especially for Virgo ascendants, anywhere from 0 to 10 degrees. There is an energy here where there could be a little bit of conflict going on between the 5th and the 8th house. I've seen this come up for a lot of people as like power struggles. So if you're somebody who has children and you're divorced, it could be power struggles with the children's, with the co-parent, right? With the children's other parent, money struggles with the child's other parent. There could also just be some power struggles or some issues involving your children around that time if you do have children, or it could be power struggles, issues, something that demands your immediate attention, involving your resources, involving your joint finances, involving debt, taxes, inheritance, insurance, other people's money kind of in general. Or it could be, again, involving resources with your partner where something comes up very suddenly and it's very intense and you're arguing about it and you have to deal with it. If that's the case, just make sure that you don't act too impulsively. Make sure that you're, in the heat of the moment, not saying things that you can't take back or doing things that you can't take back, because that is a potential here. But action does need to be taken, just action that's taken with intention, very deliberately. For Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libra, this new moon energy is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public status. You might be feeling very rebellious internally and emotionally during this new moon period against the status quo in your workplace, in your career, and your public reputation. This could be you feeling very rebellious or very like you want to do something different when it comes to tradition or hierarchy, when it comes to your career, or when it comes to your relationship with somebody in a position of power and authority. It could be having you contemplate doing things in a very different way, in a very alternative way. I love this energy in square with Jupiter on the descendant for you, especially if you're a Libra rising or just kind of in general. This Jupiter opposing your ascendant, sun, or moon, you're going to be feeling like you really are craving freedom right now, and you're going to have somebody who's going to be willing to come with you on that ride. So it's kind of like finding somebody who can be your partner in crime when it comes to rebelling against the status quo, doing things that are new and exciting, doing things in your own way, in a different way. This could be really exciting and invigorating for like passions in your partnership. I do love this energy. However, there is a potential for power struggles, arguments, disputes, and conflict, especially if you're a Libra ascendant, sun, or moon anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees. You're going to be feeling a little bit more of that conflict side of things. The main area of conflict could be power struggles involving your home, family, property, close personal relationships, or relationships with family members. Just know that something needs to be addressed, action needs to be taken, but you want to make sure that you're considerate of the needs of the other, because this is a time where you're not going to be feeling very considerate of the needs of the other, and you might be feeling very, righteous in whatever it is that you are doing, whatever action you're taking. However, this is a time where getting caught up in the heat of the moment during a dispute could come back to bite you. You could regret something that you say or do. So just make sure that you're acting with intention and that you are taking into consideration the needs of others before you act, which is a very Libra trait. You have that in you just right now, that urge to just do something or to change something or to say something. That's going to be a little bit stronger than normal. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, I like this new moon for you, Scorpio. I like it a lot, a lot better than, some of the signs here. Not that it's a bad new moon in this really nice square with Jupiter. Jupiter in square in traditional astrology is still considered to be objectively positive. It could just be an energy of overdoing it. And this is a time where you could be overdoing it when it comes to your work, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your daily routines in your daily life. So make sure you're not just pushing. That's a lot of what's going on here. You're going to be very prone to burnout if you're just going and doing and not stopping. However, this new moon energy with Lilith in your 9th house could have you kind of thinking and contemplating kind of outside of the box, outside of the norm types of sorry, types of teachings. And so this could have you thinking about things in new and exciting ways. This could have you considering alternative perspectives on life. This could have you looking at alternative religious and philosophical viewpoints that are very outside of the conventional, that are very outside of the mainstream, and pondering these things and maybe bringing something a little bit deeper into your education, into your awareness, into your perspective, into your worldview. And that could be really powerful and really positive for you. Also, this is in the 9th house, so this could be just a new beginning when it comes to travel or some sort of travel plans or connections with a teacher or connections with somebody in a foreign country. The area of potential conflict or dispute has to do with communication in the workplace. That is the biggest one I always see when we have things like this Pluto-Mars square in your 3rd and in your 6th house. Be very careful about the way that you speak to people, about the way that you connect with people. Make sure that you're not blowing things out of proportion, and just know you might be on the receiving end of some conflict within the workplace. Could be a big one, but there could also be just kind of on a day-to-day level, a lot of intensity and a lot that's going on, a lot of really intense messages coming through, very literally intense emails, phone calls, letters in the mail that could even be really intense if you still get things like that where it's like, whoa, what the heck is this? So that's something to be aware of. Just make sure that your reactions are thought out and that you're not just doing something because in the heat of the moment it feels like you need to, or because out of like anger or rage you feel like you're entitled to say something, because you might burn bridges that you can't repair, and that might come back to bite you. So you just want to be very intentional with the way you handle situations. Action needs to be taken here, but again, intentional, deliberate, thought out action. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this new moon is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of death. It's the house of psychological intensity, psychological issues, past trauma, fear, those types of things. And so this new moon could be a time where you're contemplating those issues, where you're contemplating your fears, and you're maybe having to overcome in the next month some of your greatest fears in ways that are completely outside of the box, outside of the norm for you. This could also be a new beginning for you where you're thinking about doing something in a new way when it comes to your joint finances, your partner's resources, where you want to rebel against the status quo when it comes to your investments, your saving, not necessarily your savings, but maybe your savings, your investments, your inheritance, some sort of insurance policy, some sort of debt or some sort of loan, or a way to get funding for something. You're really thinking outside of the box. You're really thinking outside of the status quo. You're doing things in a way that's rebellious, that's different, maybe wanting to rebel against the financial system entirely. This is also a time where your passions are going to be really increased. You're going to be feeling much more connected to the things that you love and wanting to do that a lot more. Maybe it could even be wanting to secure funding for something that is a passion project and thinking about doing it in a very outside of the box way. There's also kind of an energy here going on too with Mars in your 5th house squaring Pluto in your 2nd house. And so it could very literally be that there's some sort of conflict involving money or resources. It could be involving your children and maybe not having the money that you want to do something for them, or maybe you don't have the money that you want to do something for yourself because you have responsibilities for your children. And that could be something that could be a source of strain or a source of intensity, especially on a psychological level right now. And that could be the case. It could also just be you feeling really passionate and lit up about something and then going all in and spending too much money. So just kind of have an awareness around this. Don't let your emotions, especially like really intense emotions like anger or rage or this intense sort of visceral energy, this passion, lead you astray. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn, this new moon is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. This could have you on an internal, emotional, subjective level, wanting to rebel against the established norms in relationships in general. It could cause you to want to do things in a non-traditional way in your relationship. It could cause you to feel more internally rebellious against your relationships overall. So if you're in a relationship right now, you might be like, I don't want this to be how it is. I want more freedom in my day-to-day life. I want more freedom in the home. That's that Jupiter square. This could also be you rebelling against the status quo in your close personal relationships with family members. This could also be you thinking about an alternative or outside of the box or very different way of doing things. That's, again, it's not like when I say rebellious, it's not like a Uranus energy. It's like deep down inside you, you know what's going on is not the truth. You know that it's not right. And so something is being pulled out of you. And so this is you wanting to do something in a different way because of that when it comes to contracts, agreements, negotiations for land, for property, for your home, or with your family in general. There could be conflict in the home, and that's something to be aware of, especially for Capricorns who are being hit hardest by that Pluto-Mars square. So any Capricorns between 25 and 30 degrees, you'll be feeling this the most, and there could definitely be conflict and issues that arise in your home environment. Yes, there's something physical going on here, but a lot of the strain, a lot of the stress is psychological. There could be arguments and disputes that come up. Just be very aware of what you're saying and what you're doing and how that might impact other people in your life. You don't want to say something that you might regret or do something that you might regret later. Make sure that your intentions are clear, that things are really thought out and very deliberate. Action needs to be taken, but that doesn't mean that you need to like burn it all down and, you know, go wild and run away from your home or something like that. It's just like in the heat of the moment, you might feel that way. And so just have an awareness, take a few breaths, plan it out before you do something. That's all I'm saying there. Okay, for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this energy is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. This new moon is causing you to think about doing things in a rebellious way. It's causing you to really ponder how these things feel that you're doing in your day-to-day, mundane, everyday existence in life. This could be causing you to feel internalized rebellion against the status quo in the workplace. This could cause you to feel that something's not quite right, something's not quite ringing true, something's not feeling good to you when it comes to the culture in your workplace, when it comes to your co-workers and your relationship with them, when it comes to the activities and tasks that you're being asked to carry out every single day, day in and day out. This could also be you having an internalized rebellion against the medical system and especially the conventional way of doing things and feeling like this isn't quite right for you and thinking about maybe setting intentions to do things in a different way to improve your health or to just kind of prevent something from occurring there. This is also you. So this Jupiter energy, so you're going to be doing a lot of digging, a lot of learning, a lot of thinking in these areas. Potentially you could be branching out and getting a new sort of certification or starting a new educational program this month that could cause you to be able to change something or start something new when it comes to your work. This Mars-Pluto energy in your 12th and in your 3rd house, this could be some gossip. It's either you gossiping and saying something kind of either maliciously or without malicious intent, but it could be something that could be hurtful to somebody. It could be something that comes out and kind of bites you later. Or it could be that there's some sort of secret that's revealed, or it's revealed to you that somebody has said something or done something behind your back. If that's the case, remain calm as much as you can. This issue does need to be addressed. However, it doesn't need to be addressed as intensely as you might feel it needs to be addressed in the moment. There's a definite potential of overdoing it, of letting sort of rage or strong emotion get the better of you and burning bridges that don't need to be burned. Just make sure that you're being very deliberate in the actions that you take. And when I say deliberate, I don't mean like deliberate in just cutting them deep in the exact spot that will, poke their wounds or whatever. That's that Mars-Pluto energy. But like deliberate in like, hey, I know I've thought this through. I know what needs to be addressed. I know what end result I want, and this is how I'm going to approach the situation. All right, and then for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this new moon energy is pretty nice for you. This is you kind of thinking about doing something new, exciting, different from the status quo, different from what's conventionally acceptable, different from what you've done in your entire life when it comes to the things that you're passionate about, your hobbies, your interests, the things that you do because you love to do them. This could also be you thinking or wanting to rebel against the mainstream culture when it comes to the way that you raise your children, when it comes to what's accepted as normal for a family, or as accepted as normal for your children. You might be feeling deeply that something isn't right, that this isn't right. So there could be an energy of wanting to change or shift something there. This is also an energy where you might be facilitating new beginnings for your children or for a passion project that needs a little bit of funding. And this could be where a passion project does facilitate growth in your resources, but it might be like too much of a good thing all at once sort of situation here. There's also an energy here where there could be conflict, arguments, disputes, disagreements, things like that involving finances, especially during this first week. Be careful in that area. Don't just do something impulsively because you feel like you need to in the moment. Don't overdo it. Don't go all in on a big, crazy purchase unless you've really thought it through. Action needs to be taken, but any action that's taken could result in some sort of conflict later on, especially if you're doing it out of like vengeance or some sort of like anger or some sort of intense emotion. That's something to just kind of be aware of there. There could be power struggles, arguments, disputes in your social circle. I think for Pisces, it's not going to be as detrimental in that area, especially if you're a Pisces sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees. You're just going to be kind of getting a deepening of your connection to your friends and to your one-on-one partnerships, where you're deepening and facilitating a greater trust that's being born out of maybe some sort of conflict that's going on elsewhere in your life. And so that could actually be kind of a good thing. And so that is my forecast for all 12 signs. In my next 2-week forecast, I'm going to be talking about the full moon in the sign of Capricorn, which is happening on July 13th of 2022. And this one is another rebellious energy. This is truly a wild card energy. It's going to be highlighting the Uranus North Node conjunction in a very uniquely positive way. And this one is more of an external physical manifestation of something strange occurring, something new happening in the material realm. And this again is highlighting it in a way that's very positive. And before we get into that next week, I'm actually going to be doing a full forecast for that conjunction between the North Node and Uranus. In the meantime, make sure you watch my video about the nodes transiting the signs of Taurus and Scorpio so you can get a good background on what this energy is going to entail for you, not just now, but into the coming year or so. And thank you guys so much again for watching this video. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends if you feel like they could benefit from the information that I share with you today. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.